I'm visiting the 9 villages of Umuofia in the Lower Niger, investigating the case of a village notable named Okonkwo. His suicide is a complex one, but as the chief detective of my firm, I'm determined to get to the bottom of it. The why, the when, and the how. It's the only way that we know how, on Driven to Insanity, Okonkwo's Misfortune.
Hey, Colonette?
I'll pass, thanks. Forgive my asking, but were you one of Okonkwo's wives? A Queffy?
I was. Why are you here? My husband's death is sinful, and we shouldn't speak of it lest we shame the gods.
Believe me, I'm not here for god shaming. I'm here to resolve your late husband's suicide. I'll be asking a few questions. Nothing too serious.
Very well. If you must, follow me.
Difficulties communicating with the Igbo people hold me back from a swift resolution to this mystery, but I'm determined to get through to them, and I hope they can do the same. Luckily, I can understand everything they're saying, for no reason.
Queffy, I understand you and your husband had a complex relationship.
A silent owl attracts the most mates. We made love before I even said anything to him.
Instinctively, I thought she was a hussy, but I decided to be a little more open-minded than that.
Then you moved awfully fast. Do you think this said anything about his character? Would you say he was a very passionate man?
No, I wouldn't. Okonkwo was very reluctant to express himself, but being so reserved was just part of his charm.
This brought me to wonder that perhaps if Okonkwo had expressed some self-destructive notion, the incident could have been prevented.
I had a final question for you, Queffy. Is it true that Okonkwo shot at you with a gun?
He did, but he missed by quite a bit, and I don't believe he intended to hurt me. I disrespected him, and in return, he did it to scare me. As they say, a frightened bat will sleep upright.
From what I've gathered, it seems possible that Okonkwo's suicide could be drawn back to his polygamous relationships. After interviewing each wife, it became more and more evident that they were targets of his anger, victimized even. Perhaps the shame of this aggression drove him to suicide. And perhaps I need to keep digging.
Excuse me, are any of you messengers? I'm looking for a group of men.
Don't come near us, man. We didn't do anything, I swear. Just leave us be.
It's all right. Hold on to your panties. I think you're the men I'm looking for. I'll just be asking a few questions and be on my way.
We were just sending a message, man. The boys at HQ wanted us to break up their meeting. We didn't ask questions, but the guy with the bad attitude just didn't care. He chopped off Joey's head.
Oh, must be pretty tragic to watch your friend be decapitated.
Yeah, no idea. We had to carry it back for the funeral. It was disgusting.
Oh, tell me more about Okonkwo.
I decided to dig deeper with the messenger. The memory of his friend's decapitation was still fresh in his head.
Tell me more about Okonkwo. Did he say anything that seemed self-deprecating?
Didn't say anything at all. Just seemed like a quiet type.
So you have no idea what could have caused this suicide?
That man could never have washed the blood off his hands. I imagine that's difficult to live with.
I bet. So, you think Jody's passing was what drove him to suicide?
After we arrived, Okonkwo glared at us like we were the devil himself. The only reasoning behind his actions is simple. He was driven to insanity by his violence.
Interesting. Very interesting.
The messengers had a different theory. Okonkwo was simply insane. I find this to be plausible, as his actions were persistently beyond that of a sane person. One could say he was driven mad by his love for violence and devotion to traditions. One could also say that I need to keep digging.
Hi. Are you at Zima?
Before you say anything, I'm not going to talk about my father's death, okay? It was sinful and that's bad for some reason.
Okay, fair enough. But I've got $2 that say it isn't sinful.
Okay.
I'll get right to the chase. What do you think was Okonkwo's last straw? What drove him to kill himself?
Easy. He was pissed that the tribe didn't notice him enough. Like a teenage girl.
A teenage girl, you say?
Oh, totally. He got dressed up for nothing because that cute boy didn't even notice him.
Oh, I see. The cute boy is the rest of the village.
Exactly. Except most teenage girls don't kill themselves when a boy doesn't notice him.
That's true. That's very true. So you think that was the cause of his suicide?
It was definitely a contributing factor. Imagine how you'd feel if you came back all new and presentable with unmarried daughters and no one even cared or noticed.
Well, I bet I wouldn't be feeling too hot. One last question, Itzima. Were you very close with your father?
He wanted a son.
Oh my.
Itzima has theorized something new to me. She believes that because Okonkwo's tribe didn't take enough interest in his return, he killed himself in shame. I find the reason in this from Okonkwo's staunch devotion to the tribe's societal norms. Had he been less devoted to their way of life, he may have been less devastated to find that they weren't interested in his return. It looks like I'll have to return to this mystery's hole, because I need to keep digging.
You got the stuff?
What?
Never mind. Come in.
So you were placed in charge of Okonkwo's village around the time of the incident?
Yeah, I helped the villagers with religion and economy and all that crap, but Okonkwo was never around.
Were you aware that he was serving an exile of 7 years?
That's news to me. I bet the village was very different from how he remembered it. The poor guy had fallen apart.
Indeed he did, Brown. Indeed he did. Would you say that he killed himself because of the changes?
Yeah, I would say that. It must have been devastating to see his home had fallen apart. I bet he preferred death to living among us white folk. Instead of a nice church, hospital, and a bunch of money, he just wanted yams and a special title. What a schmuck.
My final interview introduces a new concept to explain Okonkwo's incident, the changes in his village. I find this to be an extremely reasonable explanation, as there were major differences in his hometown between the 7 years when he was exiled. Upon arriving at the scene of imperialization, Okonkwo sunk into depression and turned to suicide as an escapism. If I'm not mistaken, the hole is dug.
I've reviewed my findings and come to the following conclusion. Okonkwo was violent and mentally unstable. His neurological process entailed the act of murder upon any form of contradiction, and this spiraled into his own demise. With both the loss of recognition and the differences in his village, the changes became much too overburdening on poor Okonkwo. He turned instinctively to violence to cope with these burdens and failed to think rationally in doing so. Because of his slowly deteriorating mental condition, Okonkwo didn't think twice to tie the noose, throw it over a tree branch, and jump off the chair. Thus, we are left with nothing but the testimonies of his loved ones, the dim memories of his demise, and of course, this book. I haven't read all the way through yet, but it seems like a promising read. It's called The Pacification of the Primitive Tribes of the Lower Niger.